Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
As promised, here is Chris Frangiola. Thank you for staying, Chris. We have so many more juicy things to discuss, so let's get into it. Did you hear about the reality show that Charlie Sheen, Denise Richards, and their 2 daughters are doing on E?
Yes.
That is crazy. Crazy or not crazy? I don't know. This is what I think. They already showed, he already got a facelift, and they said he's doing it for his reality show.
Yeah.
So the mom, Denise, was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but she also had a reality show on E way back when she was recently divorced from Charlie.
Yeah.
And she had her dad there, and like they'd feed pigs or whatever. They had like all these animals, but it was like very produced and just kind of cornball. Okay, so then, you know, he went through his tiger blood thing and lost his 2.5 men, and then she like had to do like her Lifetime movies, whatever. Then she got on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Then her daughter dropped out of school and did OnlyFans. And then Denise joined OnlyFans.
They just have the one kid?
They have 2.
Okay.
One does OnlyFans, one does not.
Okay.
And then she does OnlyFans, Denise.
Now, what does she do on OnlyFans? Like, I mean, OnlyFans can be full-on penetration, or it could be,
it's not penetration.
Cooking.
It's alone naked, though.
She's completely nude.
What I have heard, and I don't
Denise
sponsor,
Richards.
but like, yeah, she'll like, take you in the shower with her and take a shower and sexy photos and sexy photo
Really?
shoots and all this kind of stuff. And that she's made up to $2 million a month.
Yeah.
So why is she doing this show on E? Now, I also believe that when someone says I've made $2 million a month on OnlyFans, I do believe that the men that are paying for you move on to somebody else in a couple months. They're not the same audience as like a podcast audience. You know what I mean? That's just like, oh, I like hearing.
Eventually you've seen how many more showers can you watch?
Yeah, like I think they'd move on to the next hot thing. Like whatever. And so I don't know that like you can consistently keep that audience like you can, if you have subscribers of something else.
This is going to sound weird to me, but I feel like porn or whatever is you could watch it so easily online, and it's hardcore, whatever you want to call it. So to see like her in a shower seems so tame to me by today's standards. Why would I spend money on that? I feel like some of these numbers are fudged.
Yeah.
When I hear like $2 million a month or whatever, I'd like to see the receipts on that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like, who's going? What guy wants to see Denise Richards naked for any length of time?
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm
woman.
wondering, if she doesn't have the OnlyFans, and then this came up, and maybe the girls are like, we want to do it, or maybe she's looking around and is like, how are you guys going to get to the next level, like the Kardashians or the Gigi and Bella Hadid? So let's all do it together.
The other one is Drea De Matteo from The Sopranos. She says she made more on OnlyFans than she has in anything she's ever done in show business. Like paid for a home and everything with OnlyFans.
I totally believe that, because there's guys that are just like, first of all, they both look great. They're still very attractive.
Good looking.
And it's like, it's their fantasy and they can talk to them. And I'm sure there's, the big way you make the money is like, talking to them. Well, now I think you could hire people to do that. Just like you could hire bots or AI or whatever to now engage with you. And that's how you get more money. Like I say, hey, you want to see these new shoes that I bought? And you say yes.
And it's a bot? It's a AI?
It could be, I would think, in this day and age. And then you say yes. Show me your feet, mistress, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, well, that's $20.
Oh.
And then you give me $20, and then we send a already shot foot photo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, photos.
And then the talking back and forth, well, then that's more money.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. To think that they were both like the biggest stars in that, well, we'll see. Maybe E is paying them so much money because they are like, this will be the thing that will make people watch E again.
Yeah.
It could be kind of juicy and great. I don't know.
So I thought they hated each other, Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards. They can actually work together on this?
I guess now that they're like,
yeah,
let's come together and like get plastic surgery on E.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It is kind of, and it's kind of crazy because he was with it, involved with all the porn stars.
Yeah.
And
He's
then now
HIV positive, isn't he, and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's a different thing these days. but still.
HIV positive and sex positive now. Like, it's the same thing. It's fine if you are. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. But I think he's also on a real show. Isn't he on a scripted show or something too?
That is gone.
Oh, I thought that's what the neck lift was for.
No, they said he's doing it on a show, and it must be this show.
I saw a clip from it of him getting a neck lift.
But don't you think that's from the E show?
I don't know. No, it was on like Instagram or something. It could be. It could be a clip from the E show. And then the Baldwins are doing one too.
Remember when he went on tour? The Baldwins? Oh, the Baldwins. Yeah, Hilaria and Alec.
That's on A&E.
But when he went on tour, and like Jeff Wills, who was doing like our tours and stuff with Chelsea. Well, Chelsea's tour, we'd open for her or whatever. And and they were just like, hey, if people are willing to pay for it, I mean, now reality stars and stuff go on the road, and I'm like, go make your money.
Right.
I know you're not going to be going out every year like I'm going out. You're going to get your one shebang or whatever, and then then people are going to be like, I saw it. But he would like just scream tiger blood.
It was so funny how quickly people turned on him because it was like 3 shows with people, and he was doing nothing. He had no act at all.
Yeah.
So, and then I think it was Boston or whatever city it was where they just started turning on it, and then they canceled it after. It didn't run very long. But it was nice to see that you actually have to have something in order for people to, come.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so Ben spent Father's Day with his ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, who has the kids. And then J-Lo just did like a nice post about him being a good dad or whatever.
Yeah.
And now TMZ is doing like a whole TMZ investigates about their marriage. Now they're selling the house for the $65 million house because Ben said, supposedly it's because it's too far from his house in Brentwood where the kids are.
Yeah.
And people are like, Beverly Hills and Brentwood are not that far away. And then other people said, no, it is if it's traffic and you're trying to pick up your kid from school, whatever. Also that he never really liked the house. Or is it this the first step of like dissolving the marriage?
Well, I mean, whether the marriage dissolves in 2 weeks or in 2 months, it's dissolving, right? I mean, it's not going the distance. You're not going to be talking about them as a couple in 40 years.
Originally, I thought there could have been a little bit of an elaborate exaggeration of the problem to cover up the canceling of the shows.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, no, I think that this is, I think that it's possible that, they showed, they show Jen going and visiting him and all these things that they're able to, they show her walking with her child through the Grove. And she's like, leave me alone. And I'm like, why are you in the Grove then?
Jennifer Garner?
No, J-Lo.
Oh, J-Lo. Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, what is what is this? Like, how much do they want to know? Like, I'm wondering if J-Lo is starting to lay down a scenario so that we go, oh, is he struggling with addiction again?
Right. Did you see, by the way, I know it's old now, but did you see his performance at the Tom Brady roast?
Yeah, well, it was odd, right?
Ooh, I mean, at that point, it was like, well, I know everybody said he seems to be on something, whether it's drinking or something, but he was definitely off. And it was a very weird, I know he just didn't prepare. That's what all the other comedians said.
Yeah.
Like Nikki Glazer and stuff on podcasts. Yeah, he just wasn't prepared. He thought he can come out there and just wing it, and you can't. And he did a whole thing about, just the online trolls and stuff. It seemed very much about him, not about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And it was just really, you have to watch it. You would say the guy's on something had you watched that. Right. Yeah, it's interesting.
Also, it was just like, there's something weird about his shoulders. Like, he's always like walking like, I don't know, there's something very strange.
Yeah.
Also, I just think the recycling of like an old flame, like, I don't know, I think we all thought it was like really great, but you know, the reason they broke up is because he like went to a strip club or something. Like, and there was a real reason why she like dumped him.
Yeah.
And then there's a part in an interview or in a movie, in one of her movies, which by the way, like her whole thing with her movie, it's like, you know, if nobody wants to fund your film, maybe you shouldn't fund it yourself.
Is this the Netflix one that she's in?
Like, and I think she just thought, doesn't everyone want to see me
in space? Isn't she an astronaut or something?
No, there's 3 movies.
Oh.
One is Atlas, which is scripted, and that is like whatever. Okay,
Oh,
that
you're talking about the
Then she did one, which was like a visual album of our songs, and then there was the making of This Is Me.
Right.
Again, which we already saw the other documentary about how hard she worked to get to do the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm just done with seeing documentaries about people like, well, this is me. 5 a.m. with a hood, going to box and work out, like, so that I'm sitting at home on my couch and being like, wow, that artist works really hard. We don't care. Like, the celebrity, like, on this pedestal, and then also the celebrity being like, watch my process. Nobody really cares about the process. Just show us the entertainment and the art.
Right.
I don't need to see how it was made.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't care. And I just, I think and I think he was like, probably not for it.
Yeah.
Then it was a bomb, and he's like, I told you so, which no one ever wants to hear.
Speaking of documentaries, have you watched Bratz, Andrew McCarthy's documentary about the Brat Pack?
It is on my list.
It's on Hulu. I watched it. I mean, I love that whole era. I'm a huge fan of those movies, you know, Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink and that era. And so I thought it would be interesting, but it comes off a little whiny, like... It's like an hour and a half, whatever it is, and he just keeps going, man, this Brat Pack thing really ruined my career. It's like, yeah, but also, did it? Like, you weren't a great actor. It's not like you were going to be. They keep saying, if it weren't for Brat Pack, that article, I'd be Tom Cruise, is what he's basically trying to say.
Okay, because I saw clips of it.
Yeah.
And it was like, who was part of the Brat Pack? And they're all, you know, these middle-aged, gray-haired people being like, was so-and-so? Was Matt Dillon part of the... And I'm like, okay, all right. So Andrew McCarthy goes and investigates about the article and the name that caused...
Right. He said this came out.
And so he's a little boo-hooing his career. That is so interesting.
More or less, yes. He's saying... If we weren't labeled Brat Pack, would our careers have been better? Like, would Emilio Estevez been critically acclaimed more than he was? And I'm like, well, Mannequin is Mannequin, and what Tom Cruise did is what Tom Cruise did. You know what I mean? You made some choices that Tom Cruise is not in Weekend at Bernie's. You can't blame the article. So then he actually interviews the guy who wrote the article.
Yeah.
And the guy kind of says, he's like, I don't know if you can blame my article for this, you know, for... Whatever. I mean,
but once again, what I'm telling you is like what's going on in the world right now is like the victimization of yourself. Like, just shut up.
I mean, I think there's a little bit. It is interesting. I know, of course, he had to choose it. He wanted to make a documentary, and it's a good topic, so it is interesting to watch. But also, ultimately, what it comes down to is the 2 people who are doing the best from it are probably Demi Moore and Rob Lowe. That's the people he interviews. Yeah. And I'm like. Because they still look great. Like, both of them
that's
still
what I'm saying.
look
They're very attractive. First of all, he wasn't that hot. He was the guy.
But he was back then.
No, but as a woman, okay, watching the show, what was the one where they were all in college in Boston?
St. Elmo's Fire.
St. Elmo's Fire. He was the one that, you know, couldn't get the girls. They thought he could be gay.
Right.
Because he just like smoked and had that little mouth. He wasn't Rob Lowe.
Yeah.
He wasn't the alpha male of Judd Nelson's character.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, and then same with Pretty in Pink. It was like he was the rich kid, but he wasn't James Spader.
Right.
So it was always kind of like that's what he was. And sometimes it just doesn't, it's different. It's different choices and it's what you do with it. And I mean, I think that's totally.
I think what everyone's takeaway, and he talks to one of the producers at one point in the documentary, and everyone's takeaway from it is, well, wasn't it cool to be in the Brat Pack? Like, why do you? why did you look at it as such a bad thing? I think everyone like us thought it was like, oh, who wouldn't want to be in the Brat Pack? That seems like a cool thing.
Yeah.
And that's what one of the producers says. She goes, I think you went about it the wrong way. Like the moment he wrote it, you should have been like, yes, we are the Brat Pack. Isn't it great? Kind of like the Rat Pack did.
Yeah,
they kind of embraced
that's
it.
where that's where it came from.
Anyway, you should definitely watch it. It's interesting.
Yeah. People
and Rob Lowe and Demi Moore both are like, more or less, they're like, well, get over it. Like in the $10 million houses, and then they talk to Ali Sheedy, and she's like in an apartment with a dead plant behind her. I'm like, couldn't you move the dead plant? Like, I mean, it was just like, it would have taken 2 seconds to go, let's get the dead plant out of the shot. Just like a sad poinsettia, still in her apartment in June. Anyway.
Yeah, it's...
You should check it out. It's definitely worth watching, and you would have a lot to say about it.
Okay, here's another juicy story.
Okay.
So it's a housewife story, but you will find it juicy.
Okay.
Kenya Moore has been suspended indefinitely from being on The Real Housewife. She's been on for like 10, 12 years. And she was filming her show with everybody. She had an event at her salon. She has a Kenya Moore hair care. And I guess this new girl allegedly like threatened her with a gun or something. So to retaliate, allegedly, and this is from witnesses that were there and the story's getting out, she, on her screen, like my iPad situation, had photos of this girl giving oral sex to a man.
Like during a live show or something?
Yeah, and she's like, oh, by the way, here this is.
Yeah.
And people are saying, oh, but those images were on the internet and accessible. Well, I mean, it's pornographic, so I don't know how accessible it was. The girl is like, I've never been hazed or bullied like this. This is incredible. First, when it came out, Kenya was like, don't believe anything you hear. It's not true. Well, there were all these people. There was an event.
Yeah.
And now she's saying that I'm not going anywhere. And allegedly she's going to get lawyers involved because they're firing her. But the producers are like, we didn't know what the show was going to be. We just come and film you. We don't know like what's in your iPad and this and that. And but then she's like, wow, Tom Sandoval of the Scandoval thing, but it wasn't on camera, but he and his, had a 7-year affair with a girl that he then filmed without her consent during a sexy FaceTime. They kept him on the show, yet me. And then she's like, also, all these people signed NDAs for the filming. Whenever you film a reality show and you're just like a guest, she said, they all signed an NDA. So why are, who broke the NDA that this story got out? Anyway, the state of housewives is in major trouble, which you're probably happy to hear.
I don't. It's just not my world.
I know you don't really care, but
world.
It is like so dark and disturbing.
Yeah.
And legally and everything, I just think they're like, we don't know. It's like, it's too hard to do these reality shows now with the amount of people that are leaking everything and share. And then there's the element of everybody leaking everything. So there's no surprises for us, the viewers. And then it's the social media aspect of everybody, like every time they come back from a season, it's like, well, you did a podcast about me and you liked a mean comment about me. And it's not living in the moment of just like, hey, we went to this party and this conversation happened. And my husband is, filed for bankruptcy. It's like, it's nothing like it used to be. And, but this was pretty horrible that she did this, but we'll see. She'll probably file a lawsuit. That's it. Okay. Armie Hammer went on a podcast. By the way, I think I predict Scooter Braun is going to start a podcast.
Oh, why not?
And interview music greats.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Anyway, Armie Hammer went on a podcast and he said, I'm grateful for this scandal that he still says, which was the cannibal thing where he wrote people and said, like, I want to eat your rib and this and that.
Yeah.
I think he said, I don't know if he ever said he didn't mean it or that it was like doctored up or something. But he said, kinky or whatever. But he said, I never did anything that was non-consensual. So that he has always said.
Right.
And that was a weird thing because that I was very involved in like reporting on. But then by the time that doc came, it's like people didn't care.
I know. And I heard it wasn't, they didn't have enough to keep people's interest, right? And that
Yeah, it was like people just didn't care. They didn't care about his weird dad and grandfather, which they were weird because I interviewed the aunt, Casey Hammer, and it was horrible. But I just don't think like the audience that cared about him didn't care about the older stories about their weird rich family.
No.
And then the women that dated him didn't get the sympathy from the audience because they're like, well, you knew he was married.
Right.
And you continued to date him because he was a hot movie star.
Right.
So like they weren't sympathetic characters. And I think that's why it just like lost momentum.
So what is he saying? He's saying it happened because he would have continued on with this behavior, or
he basically was just like, I'm glad that it happened, whatever, because I'm grateful that like I have this life change. This is like my life has changed.
Right.
I don't know.
Over? His
I don't
career's
know.
over?
I think right now his career. I mean, last I heard, he was like actually selling timeshare in the Cayman Islands. And his ex-wife did a show that's on Hulu.
Okay.
And then when I saw this article last night, I finally went to go look at it. It's called like Cayman Islands or whatever. And it's just like another reality show I just couldn't get into. It was just like, everyone knows this is a small island, and like it was just a bunch of hot people that live in the Cayman Islands and whatever. And her big thing is I had a public breakup with my husband who's, was accused of being a cannibalist or whatever. And then that was it. Then she doesn't talk. That's about her starting her bakery in the Cayman Islands. And we're like, who cares about that?
Yeah, nobody.
And so I don't think that show's coming back. And I don't know. I don't predict that he'll have a comeback of any magnitude. Maybe he'll like act in something that's like whatever, subpar. But then again, I don't know. Are people like dying for more?
No, he never had anything. No, outside of that one, the one "Call Me by Your Name." Otherwise, most of his movies were kind of bombs, like big bombs.
There were a lot of bombs, and it was like there was articles written about how they kept trying to like make him happen, and because he came from such privilege, and because he was tall and good looking and stuff. I think that they just kept giving him projects and stuff, but all the projects were not like hits, and then this happened.
Yeah.
So
now he's been taken. Glenn Powell's taken over what he was. Glenn Powell.
What's he in?
He's like this handsome guy he was in that one with who's the girl with the big boobs is in Euphoria. They were in a movie together.
Yes, they
romantic
had
comedy.
They had a romantic comedy where they
and during all the
two
press,
gorgeous people have to hang out together.
Exactly, one of those.
We hate each other.
I watched it on a plane. It hits every trope of bad romantic comedies you get. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to watch on a plane because they're both good looking, fun to look at. But
remember, I just came across that one. Remember The Proposal with Sandra Bullock?
Oh, yeah.
And
Ryan Reynolds.
And it's like he works for her and they, I don't know, like have to go on a trip together or something.
Yeah.
And then it's like they accidentally walk out and they're like naked and it's
shower,
like, so they're so disgusted with each other that they even got close to each other's bodies.
Right.
And they're like, both have like perfect bodies.
That was like every romantic comedy in the 90s.
Why?
Everybody was grossed out by Matthew McConaughey or other gorgeous people.
Yeah, it's always like two gorgeous people, but they hate each other.
Right.
It's so dumb. And then when it all like cracked open that like every man wrote every one of these shitty movies, and then we would go to the movies as women and be like, why isn't our love like that? Because it's made up.
Well, of course.
It's made up by an ugly guy in a baseball hat. That's not how it works out when like you walk into the room and like all these girls are hot and drinking and the guy's gonna look at the one girl in the corner who's like, that's not who the guy goes for. Even the hottest guy. The one with the tits out, it's like, let's do a shot. That's who gets the attention.
Yes.
You think guys want to work harder than they have to? They don't.
Yeah, okay. No, right.
Am I right about that?
Yes, you are.
But in every movie, it was always like, no, I don't want you. I want Molly Ringwald, this weird girl with a weird red hairdo that's dressing like she's 85. I want her. I don't want the hot girl that I've been boning for a year and a half because I already boned her for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I want that weird girl in the corner.
Yeah.
So then every weird girl seeing the movie would go, I love that movie because it can happen. No, it can't. It's written by a guy who made it up.
Yeah, right. True. All good points. All good points.
So, hopefully,
what I wanted to say was, I feel like because of there was this era of canceling that we all know about, of course.
Yes.
For all different reasons.
Right.
But now you're starting to see some of them saying, all right, there's a time, like Kevin Spacey's on this whole press run. He just did Pierce Morgan and a couple of other things where he's like,
I'm trying to find this note. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
He's just like, when can I come back? I've been, I went through 2 trials. I've been found not guilty in both of them. Other trials were dropped. Other charges against me were dropped. So when can I come back? Did you happen to see his interview on?
Well, he'll just start a podcast.
I'm surprised he hasn't at this point.
This is what Army said. Okay, because I knew I had it written out somewhere. He said, whatever it was that people said, whatever it was that happened, I'm now at a place in my life where I'm grateful for every single bit of it. I was in a bad spot in my life before these claims came out, with no self-esteem and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction with my life. When the adoration turned to hate, I had to learn to love myself, and ultimately, I'm better for it. I'm able to look at all my trials and tribulations at a distance and find them hilarious, thinking it was totally ridiculous anyone thought I could eat another person. I've been an asshole to women in the past, but always flatly denied sexually assaulting anyone. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of makes sense, right? I mean, in the end, he didn't really eat people.
There were
he was just
weird
like
things, though. He did like scar them with his name, with his initials. And,
he did do that?
Yeah, there were things like that.
Yeah.
And then also, like, the girls had to show up like at his doorstep at a normal time and like on all fours with like a leash around their neck.
Oh, what's wrong with that? That's. I mean, some people are into this kind of shit. It is
kind of hilarious, like 3 years out.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Like, it is kind of like.
Yeah.
And when it first came, people were like, "Is this real?" And then there was this other girl that had all the evidence, and she got Gloria Allred and all that stuff. But then she kind of fell to the wayside, and it just some things just don't have the momentum. It's like that's one thing about the internet and all this. They're like, everyone talks about it, blah, blah. And then like, a couple months later, everyone's like, I don't care.
I know, until you popped up Army, I had forgotten all about him. I mean, that's one of those ones I just don't even.
Yeah.
The most interesting thing about him was those cannibal texts that you read. I mean, otherwise, I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies or cared.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We're good without him.
Stephen Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's brother.
Mm-hmm.
I came across this that he posted. This is his page, Stephen Baldwin 7. And he's crying in the car with his glasses on. And he puts on the top of his crying video that has like music to the background. Just dropped wifey off at airport. When she flies now, miss her more and more. Most beautiful, best cook, best friend. Hallelujah. Now he's become like a super Christian.
Yeah.
And his daughter is Haley, right?
Haley
Who's married to.
Yes.
Now.
Hey, that's the one daughter. And the other daughter, there's another one.
The other one threw a tampon.
Threw a tampon.
She
a used one, they said.
A used tampon at somebody at a bar. Yeah.
So there's, you never know. Uh-huh. Threw it right into Armie Hammer's mouth, and he loved it. What? Disgusting. Anyway,
I'm glad that he did this because I want to talk about how cringy this is. Like, I one time like did an experiment because I was like, I wonder if I just film myself like crying, will I get a lot of views? And now I feel like, again, the audience is sophisticated and is like, what? So anyway, he's an actor and he just missed his wife and he decided to stop the car, film himself, just being like, crying about it. And then so for people to be like, I love how much you love your wife.
Right.
I love how committed you are that when she goes on a trip. But some of the comments were so funny. They were like, if this was my husband, I would not come back. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, It was just, oh God, just the cry for attention. I'm just like, I can't take it.
I don't know when it happened, and it pains me to admit, because they are Long Island guys, so I do have that, in common with them.
Kingship, and you also are one of 4 boys.
Right,
you guys
exactly.
have a lot in common. It's Francholas and the Baldwins.
The fact that they have gotten all so kooky, because they're all of them. And even the one Billy and his wife, China Phillips. You ever see some of her TikToks?
Yeah.
She's crazy Christian now too, and wild.
Yeah.
So I never saw that coming. I thought they were going to remain like normal actors in Hollywood, and just wow. I mean, they are.
I think he was crying because I brought up that he was in the movie Threesome last week, and I think he was triggered by it because that was definitely not a Christian-based film. It was about about a freshman in college. They're all friends, and one guy is gay, and he has a crush on Steven. And then Steven has a crush on this girl.
Who was Josh Hartnett? Is that the actor? I think it is.
I don't remember.
No, not Josh Hartnett. Josh, I know
I
who.
I looked it up after I talked about it, and so then they decide that they are going to have a threesome, and she's in the middle of
Who's
the
the
two
girl?
of them.
Lara Flynn Boyle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I go to look up the movie, and I'm like, wait a minute, because in my memory, I just kind of remember these like young people and whatever, and I was like, wait, they're freshmen in college, and it's like it's so weird. Like it's same thing with like St. Elmo's Fire. Like when I saw that as a teenager, and they seemed so old.
Yeah.
But they were like a year out of college.
Right.
And I'm like, wait, what? They're having this guy. So anyway, maybe he's crying because of that. I don't know. But I'm like, dude, you're so lame. I'm sorry. That was just.
Well, he's been lame for a long time. I mean, isn't he?
Yeah.
Poor guy. Whatever. But wasn't there another guy, a reality star, who cried about his wife being gone too? And everyone thought she was dead?
Oh, yes.
But she was like shooting a reality show or something? The firefighter.
Trista from The Bachelorette. Yeah, she was doing Special Forces.
Special Forces, right.
And he did like a post in black and white.
Several weird posts.
People thought he killed her.
Yeah. People were like, wait.
Then they thought she was in a mental health
And he wasn't
facility.
saying anything.
Yeah, and then I guess she, has signed an NDA, and they're not supposed to say that she's on Special Forces.
Yeah.
So then she had to be like, I'm just taking a break from my family, but I'm okay. Thanks for the love. And so then people are like, wait, is she in rehab? And then finally she's like, fuck it, I'm doing Special
like as
Forces.
if people were not going to watch Special. Well, now I'm not going to watch it. If Trista's.
I know who's on it.
Who cares? Everybody just get over yourselves.
Ugh, I do not want to do Special Forces.
Is that the one we got to carry people?
That's like we have to be a Navy SEAL.
You got to carry JoJo Siwa across the desert.
Definitely don't want to do that one at all. I will do traitors.
Okay.
I will do villains. I'll just do ones where you just are like sitting in a house.
I mean, I can't believe at this point you haven't clipped the point where I wrote both of those 5 years ago on Juicy Scoop when I said they should do a Cancel House reality show. They have
I think I have, but I can find it.
Anyway, it's not.
No, I'll
it's not
find it.
important.
I'll have Drake cut it
important.
together. And essentially it is Canceled House, but it's easier to say villains because then you can pick in some people that were not really canceled but are just like not liked.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway.
Speaking of JoJo Siwa, I don't know if you've mentioned this. Do you follow Kate Beckinsale on Instagram? How come nobody talks about how kooky she is? Have you seen the bows she wears in her hair? Constantly got a giant bow.
Well, that's a look that's come back recently that I'm not into.
And also, she has
for like adult women. Same with big headbands.
I'm talking it's this big. Have you seen it?
Remember when she dated Pete Davidson?
Yes. But you, in order to be friendly with her, because that's what I'm saying. How come nobody's saying anything about this?
Okay.
You show up at her house and she's got costumes you got to put on. But it's all.
So that's her videos. Maybe I don't follow her then.
You got to follow her.
Okay.
It's
she's
wild
doing weird
ride.
stuff.
Weird stuff. They're running around like on a Tuesday afternoon, dressed up like dangerous liaisons, and it's.
JoJo just posted that she knows what her next thing is going to be, and she's working on it based on all the feedback that she got.
Oh, good.
So
yeah,
Maybe,
yeah, okay. We need.
I mean, it's just so amazing that she was just like, I'll just put like this. I'll just copy like the Kiss look.
Yeah, Gene Simmons.
And do this song, and people are just going to be like blown away by it.
Yeah. And then she swigged vodka or something.
She's swigging vodka. She's putting her hands down her pants.
Yeah.
And at like a pride show, and there were kids. So then people were like, you shouldn't have done that with kids in the audience. And I'm like, well, don't bring your kids to a show that's an adult. She didn't say she was performing for 6-year-olds. Like, whatever.
Right.
And But, I went by her house. She didn't want to talk to me. Okay, so this was crazy. So this is a drag. They did a drag queen roast.
Is this RuPaul's Drag Race?
Yes,
She's
but
on
there's like a
RuPaul's Drag Race.
special. They did a special roast.
Yeah.
And this person, her name is Got Milk. Got Milk is her drag name.
Got Mick.
Every single joke from Nikki Glaser, and this is from Beatrice is the name of the person that posted this, or Acid Berries. I don't know who posted this. Anyway.
It's shocking. She literally verbatim
So
steals
I watched
every
this
joke.
video, and it's verbatim. She went and studied all of the roasts, Nikki Glaser's and several.
Yeah.
And really just grabbed all the jokes that she could then do with timing and everything, word for word, to the drag queens.
Yeah.
Now, I would love to know what Nikki's going to do about this, because she's probably thinking, if I say anything, it's going to look like I don't, have a problem with.
Nikki need to leave this one alone. She doesn't need to get involved in this at all.
No, that's why I'm going to do the crusade for her and just let people know. Now, I think, a lot of people go, oh, will you do a roast? Or we want to do a roast for my birthday, or can everyone at my office roast me? Now, I will say, this is great. All these roasts are accessible. Spend a few hours and just take jokes from other people.
Yeah.
If you're roasting your boss, you could steal it. Who cares? No one's going to see it. But if you're going on a TV show, maybe don't.
Was this actually on RuPaul's Drag Race that was aired on TV?
Or it was a special thing. And and I don't think the producers realized it or not, because you wouldn't know unless someone put it together.
I also think there are people out there who think that it's
okay
to
take
it's like a
people's
line
jokes.
from a movie. Like, why can't I just say it?
Yes, I remember one time reading someone's autobiography about, and they were a stand-up. And the first time they ever did stand-up, they just took someone's entire act. And then someone's like, no, you can't do that. And they're like, I can't?
Right.
But it's my favorite. I kind of feel like not everybody knows. Maybe this wasn't even maybe she wasn't, you just did it and put it together. But they were all laughing and no one put it together, because she would too the subtleties. She'd be like if Nikki said to Sean Hayes, Will and Grace really was the best that you could do.
Yeah, right.
So then
right.
she would say to somebody, a drag queen, Hairspray really was the best, and the girl was in Hairspray, that you could do. So it was unless you were really that versed in Nikki Glaser's stuff, you wouldn't. I mean, it took this person on the internet, but also know that if you do something like this, somebody is going to find it.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody's going to find it, but I don't think anybody watching it or producing it or anything put it together that she had taken it word for word.
I think you need the roast. Keep it to the pro. I know everyone thinks it's going to be great, but
they all want to do
when
it.
it becomes like the regular people doing it, it just gets to a point where you're like, oh boy. Just let the pros do the big one, the Tom Brady ones, the Comedy Central ones, and then little parties and stuff. It's not.
Well, Giselle is saying that she broke up with her karate boyfriend because of the aftermath of the Tom Brady roast.
Yeah.
That it was so, I guess, mentally draining. Or maybe she didn't say it, some friend of hers said it. That, caused problems. But then they were seen together the next day.
Yeah. Well.
And, I mean, you go from Tom Brady to, your kid's karate coach. Whatever, who cares? Just be happy, girl.
She's fine.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I can imagine why it was hard for the kids and stuff when they're not used to something like that. And I can see why he didn't think it through.
It was an interesting call on his part, but I mean, it certainly was a big hit. People have really talked about it. So, I mean, not that he needed any more press, but it worked out for the comedians.
Right. But yeah, the roasting is a specific comedic art form.
I got asked to do Michael Yo's birthday party. God, it got to be 10 years ago. Somehow he must have his wife asked me. She must have went down a list of people and got a bunch of no's. And then I said yes. And I forget who else was on it, but it was at Ha Ha Cafe, and it was just low rent comedy club.
Yeah.
And, I went, I had a couple of drinks, and I did a roast, as I was told. And it was his family in the audience stuff. And he said, I love Michael. He's a sweetheart of a guy. But I was going hardcore on his Asian Mom, and people were like, "Oh my God, like we wouldn't sign up for this." And I'm like, "Oh, I thought we were roasting." That's what they told me, and I mean, I think he was like shocked, and I think the wife was just like, "Oh my God, like why did I ask him?" It was bad. It was real bad. Like I don't think I've spoken to him since. It was bad news.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know why people want it.
Yeah.
It's like the only way it can be funny is if they go so hard and it's
you got to go hard, right?
And I've had people ask, will you do a roast for me? Or we want you to roast me. Like as if I'm going to be excited about that. I'm like, first of all, it's so much work.
It's so much work.
And it's so likely that I'm going to bomb. And then also, like, it's not fun.
It's not fun. And the only jokes that you look at any of the roasts that the jokes you talk about after it's over are the meanest ones. Otherwise, you're like, oh, well, you sucked. They're like, yeah, because I didn't want to be mean.
Right.
So it doesn't work otherwise.
There was one roast where someone only did like they went the other route, and it was like really bad nice jokes.
Yeah.
And then everyone was laughing because they got where they were going, and it was like their only way out of it, which I thought was kind of clever because I'm like, that's what I would do. I'm like, well, if I'm not going to be at the level of like Nikki Glaser and all these people that can really know the art form and really kill it, like, well, how can I do something that I stand out with and that I'll be comfortable with when I leave here, you know?
I think the smart thing to do is what like a Will Ferrell and some of those guys do. They do it in a character, and then you're like, oh, well, that wasn't me. That was the guy from Anchorman. That's a better way to go.
Just come.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone ever asks me to do it, I'll just do it as Ramona.
Yeah, do it exactly.
And then they can be bad jokes because they're in her perspective.
It works better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, the only thing that really bothers me about Chris Franchola.
I mean, I would never like the fact that Tom Brady even wanted that. I was like, why? What? I mean, why would you want that? I mean, to hear.
I know, and when people are always like, well, the money went to charity. No, you thought it would be fun.
Right.
Because you have enough to write a check to charity.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you wanted to do it. You thought it would be cool.
Very interesting.
Anyway, so here's your neighbor. You have
My
a place in
Malibu.
Malibu.
Yeah, it's right down the
So
street.
the New Yorker did a long article that I read over the weekend of what went down with this Malibu home.
$53 million
is what Kanye paid
for it, yeah.
And this very famous Japanese architect is the one who put it together, and it was the concrete walls and beautiful art and these walls of glass. And then what was weird is they're like, and then Bianca contacts this handyman. And I'm like, a handyman?
With a sledgehammer.
Why are you not using a real contractor? So the handyman's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then he keeps getting all these instructions to like pull out all the cabinetry, destroy the floors, break the
glass. Take
all
the electrical,
we don't want glass. Like, they didn't want did they not want the view?
Yeah.
Like, instead of stairs, we want slides. Did you see that?
No. I watched a little video of it where they actually saw the guy smashing the glass with a hammer and stuff.
And then she's like, the artist would like to meet you. And this is Bianca, his girlfriend now, who was like studying architecture or something. And then he had to sleep there because they weren't paying him. I don't know why he had to sleep there. And he was having like Cliff Bars and Red Bulls. Finally, he left. Now they've stopped construction, and now he's selling it again.
Yeah.
For like 36.
And it's just like a broken down cement structure now. I mean, it's still on the beach in Malibu, but
I mean, like Kanye's style and stuff. I mean, he has been ahead of his time, and people did wear his ugly fashions, and they did, like his weird way of doing his house or whatever. But now it's just sitting there. It's just this concrete thing. I wonder what it'll go for. I bet it doesn't go for more than 25.
I mean, in that
because you're basically
location,
just like buying. I mean, the location is great, but other than that, like, but what a nightmare for the people that are living next to it. No one ever thinks about that.
I know, and they're right there. Look at how close they are to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. I've never, Kanye doesn't do it for me, so I'm not one of those people. He's a genius. He's just like, I don't know. It's like a fat guy in a raincoat to me. But what do I know?
I definitely don't think he's a genius. I
Yeah.
think he's, and then
At one time, perhaps.
but just always thinking like something's like, oh, wear nylons up to your nipples. That'll be the new thing everybody's wearing. I think like there was a couple times where he was doing that because then Kim would do it and he'd get Kim to be, but nobody's wearing what Bianca's wearing.
Right,
like
right.
When Kim was wearing a big ski jacket and like a bralette and spandex to get a salad at Health Nut, people started to wear that look.
Yeah.
But they're not going to wear Bianca holding a purple pillow and nylons up to her nipples. Like no one, it's not
it's
catching
tough.
on.
Yeah, you can't really pull it off unless you look like her. I mean, she pulls it off.
But yeah, it was
a
like,
Cheesecake Factory where they go to like Danny's. They were at Danny's recently. I mean, it's just so weird.
yeah, here it is. That was, this was it before, what it looked like before. And then this is what it looks like after. Just like, ugh. Then Kim did this interview with Chloe Sevigny, and everyone said it seemed very like weird pairing. And everyone was like, why is Chloe doing this? Like, she's like an award-winning actress, but she was also on like American Horror Story, whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess there was somebody else from Variety, another actor that was supposed to do the interview with Kim. And then they got sick that day, so then she came in. And but there were some painful moments that were highlighted by like people.
Oh no.
Where it was just kind of like, Chloe's like, did you used to go to the movies as a kid? And Kim was like, yes, I can totally remember being so excited to go to the movies on a Saturday. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Is this? It was just lame as shit. Okay.
I heard one of the comedians, Andrew Schulz, talking about back to the roast. He was on it and she was there, of course. And he was saying like, I've like just completely just like not there, like it makes no connection at all with like regular people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like he met her backstage, something, just like zero connection, just like a robot. I thought that was an interesting angle.
That is kind of interesting because that's not the way she used to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot's changed in the last 10 years in their lives,
Right.
And being married to Kanye probably did something
Yeah.
to her. It was Northwest's birthday this weekend.
Oh, good.
And they went to like Mall of America or something.
In Minneapolis?
Yeah, or they were like riding. And I came across her stories and, as a mom, she was really having fun. Like at least they did like a real kid thing. Like took a bunch of kids and did this like fun, like whatever the amusement park is in there.
Yeah.
And then they went to New York and
Oh.
I don't know. But she
Sounds
was
nice.
like, but in the video she was laughing and she sounded just like Chris, her mom. But anyway, like she tries to be a good mom. Okay. Now, here's a love story. So the former New England Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick. Now, did he participate? He participated in the roast.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
He's
he was the
72
coach
and he's
of-
dating a 24-year-old former cheerleader.
Yeah.
I guess she had to give up being on the squad if she was going to date the coach.
Yeah. He's no longer the coach of the Patriots. He's no longer coach of anything. He's currently unemployed at 72. And what 24-year-old wouldn't want an unemployed 72-year-old? I mean, it makes sense.
So they're dating, and I don't know, like so many girls are just like proud sugar babies now. Is this even like the worst thing in the world?
I mean, it doesn't. Who knows? I mean, I don't care.
Yeah,
but
I just think it's kind of funny, but it reminds us, of course, of the new show on Hulu, which was about a scandal that we covered a lot.
on Hulu
Chelsea,
or
it's on
FX?
Hulu.
I think they're
Well,
both the
FX
same,
and
right?
Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu.
Well,
Yeah.
So I watch it on Hulu.
Yeah.
But it's once a week. There's like 3 or 4 episodes out. It's really good. It's called
Yeah.
Clipped. And the I forgot his name, but the older dad from Modern Family
Ed
is playing
O'Neill.
him.
Yeah,
Ed O'Neill.
yeah.
Oh my God, he's so funny in it.
Yeah.
Like he's really funny because it's like this guy is just like out of touch, but he kind of says some funny stuff the way it's
Yeah.
written. And then this was his girlfriend, and her name was V. And the real story of the Clippers is he was married to this woman, for like 40 years. And this was his assistant. He brought her to the games and all this stuff. And she would record their conversations. And then when he was kind of ready to blow her off, because the wife was like really sad about it, this according to the scripted show, then is when she's like, okay, I'm going to release this tape of where you're saying really racist stuff.
About his players and stuff,
yes.
right? Yeah.
And to TMZ. And that's where it's at right now. Like, that's where and so the girl that plays her is really great. And so then I looked up, where is she now? Where is the girl now? Because she really just wanted to be famous, and this was 2014. But no, she's not anything. I don't know what she lives off of.
Oh, really?
I don't know. She's not like on
Maybe
social
she was
media.
One of the big visors.
Yeah, and so she did that thing, just anything to be like stand out and be famous.
Right.
And then remember she did that interview, and then he's like, "Well, what are you to him?" And she's like, "I'm his silly wabbit." Like she doesn't say like weird stuff, but in the scripted show, she said they never had sex. But she acted like his mistress and spent time with him and would like rub his feet, and he would pay for stuff. So then her friend is like, wait, what? You're not sleeping with him? Well, then you've got nothing.
Yeah.
If you can't like win him over with your, Venus trap of a golden vagina, then you're just a friend, and he doesn't want to be your friend anymore. So, and then she's like, but he has to buy me this house, and he can't just throw me away. Like, I'm going to run the Clippers one day. Like, she was completely delusional. Meanwhile, he then sold it to that guy, the Clippers, for like $2 billion.
Yeah.
So even though he said like a racist, awful thing and his at 80 his reputation was ruined. Right. I'm like, but was it? Like you would have never attempted to sell it otherwise, and then you had $2 billion, and he and his wife are still alive.
He's still alive? I thought
they're still alive at like 90.
Oh my God. Yeah, I got to watch this one. I hear it's great.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And of course, it's scripted. So like there's things that are embellished and stuff. But then there's a lot that is like based on the facts of this case. And because it was like so in our zeitgeist and everything, I remember totally like being like, what? And I wasn't a basketball person. I'm like, who is this Soulfart? What is this?
Right.
Like, who watches the Clippers? Like I was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, so these two girls, I follow them on Instagram, and
this is near and dear to my heart. I've been to this restaurant many times, Mavericks in Montauk.
Well, they ripped on it. I happen to have seen the video before this article came out, and they do a lot. They have a big Instagram following, and they show the food, they show the restaurant, and 90% of it is positive. Like they'll go around and they'll be like, if you haven't been to Joey's, then you don't know what you're missing. And they always say like, and this salmon fucks. If something, if they like the meal, they say it fucks. But they'll oftentimes be like, this was nothing special. This lobster mac was nothing special. But what you really want to go for is this. So sometimes they are honest, but it's pretty rare that you see like a completely negative one, because I follow them and I find them funny and everything. So I came across this one, I'm like, whoa. And they basically said, it took so long to get their food. It was absolutely unedible. It sucked. It was awful.
They had video of it too.
Showing the video of the food.
It doesn't look great in the videos.
Yeah. And so now the restaurant is being like, are very upset about this video. And then
they also said that the restaurant saying that these girls bribed them. They said, if you don't give us everything for free, it was a $3,000 bill, I think, or $2,000.
Right, $2,000.
The restaurant said that the girls said, if you don't give us it for free, we will give you a bad review. That's the restaurant's stance at this point. Mavericks is saying that. That's what I've heard.
Well, now this gets into a very where you kind of wonder, because I follow these people. It's made me want to go to the restaurants when they mention it in New York. I mean, I've been like, oh my God. And I think they're funny. But here's the thing now that there is a level of suing for defamation or whatever if you say that your review really hurt our business.
Right.
So it's kind of, I feel like it's a very gray area of food blogging and saying things and talking about people. There is a freedom of speech. This was their experience. And maybe they did say, hey, this sucks and we are going to give you a shitty review, so you should make it good, because it did suck.
Right.
And well, they should have. I don't know, but they probably were like, who are these bitches? They probably didn't know that they had like 1 million followers.
Well, I'll be there next week. So if Mavericks, you want me to give you a good review,
Have you
will come
been
in.
there?
I've been there with Jen Kirkman and myself and my wife.
And
many times I've been there.
And
So
what
it's-
is your opinion?
I had to wait a little bit for service. I remember that was our opinion. And I think I wrote something on their Instagram and they deleted it.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but it's a beautiful place. I'll say that. Got a great view. I honestly thought, this is not a joke, I thought when I first looked at that picture, I thought it was white chicks. I really did.
That's what people were saying.
Yeah.
They're basically like, it's like listen, if we redo White Chicks, we got to have the two girls be them, be food bloggers.
Right.
And then also, but I also think it would be really, I always say, because Sean and Marlon are older, there has to be like a housewives element too. Housewives, food bloggers, influencers, that's what it would be. But I think, listen, a lot of places, ever since COVID, it's the service you're always waiting.
The service has been bad. I mean, the service is not great in Montauk and the Hamptons anyway. But, I mean, I don't know what this place's deal is.
And then we can never complain because God forbid we complain and then a TikToker says that we're an asshole.
Right.
It's like you really can't. The idea of the customer is always right, doesn't exist anymore if you have any kind of fame. You cannot complain. You cannot. It's like, but sometimes you're just like, God, this really sucked. I spent a lot of money. The food wasn't good.
Yeah.
I got a sitter. I wanted to have a good time. I have a right to let people know.
Every
don't
restaurant
come here.
needs to hire 52-year-old men. That's who needs to be your waiters and your bartenders and whatever. Guys who just a bit, like hiring 22-year-old girls. Who I don't think that works in restaurants. I just don't. Does that make me a bad person?
I feel like oftentimes there's this whole thing of if somebody gets mad at you, have a bad day, it's like, well, this isn't good for my mental health, so I have to quit.
Yeah, right. I see a young person come over to my table. I'm like, oh, this order's not getting into the kitchen. I see a 58-year-old guy come over to the table. I'm like, oh, this is going to be quality service. I just do. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And it's never really let me down.
Right.
When I've dealt with, you go to New York City, you get these old guys who come to your table like, oh, this guy's going to handle it.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
No, it's
I don't know
true.
what they have
I mean,
over at Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, so. But then I feel like at a place like this, how many choices are there and they'll still always get people, but then improve it, have a meeting and improve your staff situation.
Well, I thought it was interesting that they just did a complete fight back against it. I'm like, well, I mean, I've been there. That you could use some help.
Yeah.
You just fight back with everybody because they got this is their second year in Montauk, and they got some flack last year too. And
but also, I wonder if these girls are getting a little, inflated. Which they had.
Yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden, you've been doing a fun thing. You get to eat for free. I mean, I'm envious of their life. I'm like, they're fucking geniuses. They get to eat free everywhere. And I guess this is happening a lot with other influencers and stuff where they're like, I will, do your food and
give it to
this
me
and
for
that.
free.
And how, who's to say if the manager doesn't know who you are? Are we supposed to look them up? All
Right.
of that.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't kill a restaurant to give them 50% off and they give a great review.
I mean, there's been times where I'm just like, oh, they forgot my whatever. And then someone comes over and they're like, oh, and by the way, we took off the thing that we forgot to bring you.
Well, they said they did. They took off the seafood tower.
Oh, gosh.
Mavericks
That's
said
what
they
Peter
took
got fired
seafood
for,
tower.
ordering a seafood
Anyway.
tower. Well, interesting. Angie Harmon, star of SVU, that was, she always was playing like a cop because she looked like a model, but she had a raspy voice, which is all you need to do is to play a New York cop.
Right.
You have to look like a model, but and be like, hey, and kind of, put your leg up on the.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Anyway, she has a beautiful daughter that just graduated from high school, but also committed a crime.
Oh, no.
She broke into a nightclub and stole liquor bottles in North Carolina, and then a janitor saw them and they got caught. So this is her mugshot. She's very pretty.
She is very pretty.
And, what a dum-dum.
Yeah.
I wonder if that affects the school taking her, because she's probably going to some fancy school. But these kids,
She doesn't look too upset about it in her mugshot.
no. You know what? If this was 10 years ago and they needed the work, then she would get they'd have the reality show, Angie Harmon, her mom.
And they have that story that like a food service, like a DoorDash guy shot and killed her dog.
Oh, that's right.
Wasn't that her?
Yeah, Angie Harmon. I guess
like a month ago.
Ordered Postmates, and then the dog attacked the guy, and then the guy was strapped, and I guess shot the dog
and killed it.
Yeah,
I think it was Angie. It was Angie Harmon, right? I think it was. Anyway, so maybe she's going through some tough times right now.
Oh wow! Ellen DeGeneres said she's ready to come back. She can't just sit at home anymore.
This is what I'm saying. Everybody wants to come back. All the canceled people now want to come back. Oh, are we going to let them back?
I feel like let's just explore what the Ellen thing was, because basically, was there any she never like really hurt. Okay, this is my memory.
Right.
She was one of those people don't look me in the eye stories.
That's what I've heard.
Which I've always been like, anyone could say that now. Someone could say that about me now.
Right.
How they didn't want me to look her in the eye. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, how am I supposed to prove that, you know? Right. So, and that, you know, she was difficult to work for. But like, listen, TV shows are stressful places. Mm-hmm. Your executives are stressed because they could be replaced if the ratings go down. So then they're stressed. Even though it's a comedy show, it's a stressful situation.
Yeah.
You know, she was doing her thing in Montecito during 2020, and she said some inappropriate things. I feel like I'm in prison, and she's like in her $25 million home, and but then she did come back and finish out her contract, and then she left.
Yeah.
So what is she really coming back from?
Nothing. You know, I mean, why wouldn't you? You'd give somebody could give her a show again. I think.
Well, I mean, she'll do a Netflix special, but she did a special a few years ago
because she didn't rehearse.
No, I think she literally practiced in her living room and like
right.
had someone help write it, and then she was just like, "I can do this."
I mean, she's a great stand-up. I mean, back in the old days, she was one of the best. She was great.
But I mean, I do think it's really hard for someone like, how is she supposed to build an hour?
Yeah.
And really know that it's like a solid hour versus someone like you or me where you're going and doing different shows and stuff. Like, it is kind of hard because then people will say, if she does reveal like a really juicy story, like, did Chris Rock leading up to his special that was done live on Netflix, he saved at the very end, he talks about the slap.
Yeah.
But did he do that at clubs, 50 clubs leading up to that? I think he probably didn't.
No, probably not.
All the other stuff that he worked out, dating and this and that. Yeah, but then some you got to save. Yeah. So it's like, that's why I think it's kind of hard if you're like a celebrity in this world. It's people, you know, couple hundred people see your show, and then someone goes on Reddit and says everything you said in it. Right. I don't know how you're supposed to do this really anymore and make it like a hit.
Yeah, I don't know either. But anyway, I think she could come back. I think I'd see it. I could see it. I mean, you know, his afternoon TV is hot right now.
You think she'd come back as doing a show?
Well, what else would she? Be an actress?
No, she's going to be. I think she just will do stand up like Jerry Seinfeld. That is what I think she wants to do.
Oh, okay.
I think she wants to do a
she could definitely do.
and then do, you know, and then get to travel around and
stand
leave and do.
People will always have you back to stand up. That's why I tell people not to shit on stand up, because stand up will take you back no matter what you've done.
Right.
Anybody. We've taken the screeches.
Yeah.
You know, we'll take anybody and stand up.
Yeah.
It's the last, outside of like maybe mime, it's the lowest rung on the show business ladder, stand up. So we will take all Danny Bonaduce. Remember when everyone comes to the bottom of the barrel? Yeah. Like, oh, just go do stand up. And so, yeah, we'll have you back, Ellen. No problem.
We definitely will. Chris, besides doing Saratoga with me in Saratoga, California in August, what are your next dates? You are just going to live life, right?
I'm going to live life up until September. I have September 4th, Sacramento Punchline, September 5th, Cobb's in San Francisco, September 4th and 5th. And then right before I go to you, I'm at the City Theater in Maine, Biddeford, Maine, August 15th, August 16th, the Music Hall in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Then I fly to you.
I love it. Saratoga. And because you're going to have some fun with the fam, right?
Yeah.
You're going to go to that restaurant, Mavericks.
I'm going to be in Montauk where Mavericks is. So have me out, and I'll give you guys a positive review.
Thank you so much, Chris. Love you so much.
Thank you. Bye.